What we're looking at there behind me right now is the border into the autonomous region of Tibet. In order to get in there, you need a special permit, otherwise you cannot enter.
For the border permit, the military controls in Tibet.
So we're literally right now at the border. If you look into the back, what you're seeing is just some type of big compound, lots of electricity. And yeah, we'll see how it will go. If it's gonna be quick, if it's gonna be easy, who knows? A bunch of guys, truck drivers mostly, just having some cigs. And so right now, by car, just crossed over this bridge over there. And yeah, on this side is pretty much where Tibet is starting. Back there should be some kind of office or car stop. They're gonna check the documents. And yeah, interesting, very creative and visual border crossing. We got the yaks, the famous animal in Tibet. Basically the Himalayan kind of like high altitude type of buffalo, cow, cattle. And yeah, very quiet here though, overall. Let's get in. Next stop, Tibet proper.
Yeah.
All in Chinese, huh?
Yeah, all in
Is that first?
Like certain places, like Tibet has been divided into many frontiers, lying to Bhutan, Ladakh, also to Nepal. So for the border permit, the military controls in Tibet. So this is just a very, yeah.
Do some people don't get a permit?
Can possible. It depends on whether you are legal or illegal. That can be. That is just a common, very common for every country, not only in China or not only in Tibet. That's everywhere.
Everybody legal here?
Even maybe in your country, like.
Yeah, nobody likes.
指挥中心安全提示：为了您跟乘客的安全，请车途中不停吸烟，谢谢。
Guys, it's gonna be a long road. And you know, there is one reality that most people don't really want to talk about. The thing is, there's always a certain risk and you can always be on edge. What if something happens? What if I need to go to the hospital? And that is where today's video sponsor, Safety Wing Travel Medical Insurance, come in. See, I've been like using them way before, back in the day, before they wanted to sponsor the channel. And what I think is really cool, it's the most flexible, fairly affordable option that covers you worldwide. They have two options. One is health and travel insurance for nomads short term, the essential plan. It's basically an emergency travel medical insurance. So for anything new that comes up or anything unexpected, you're covered. It's very flexible. You can get it even if you have already left your country. Let's say you're in the airport, you quickly set it up, you have a trip for 3-4 weeks, you get insured and have the peace of mind wherever you go. And the other one is called Complete. If you're a proper nomad on the road for months or years. So routine and of course emergency medical care anywhere in the world, but beyond that, wellness treatments, mental health support, even cancer treatment. If it's just a short trip, the most flexible emergency medical insurance that is out there, Safety Wing Essential. And if you're living around the world, check out Nomad Complete. I think really a couple of years ago, there were very few to almost no solutions. If you have already left your home country, first link down in the description. Also, I might leave like a little barcode for you to scan. And yeah, we are right now in front of one of the most famous monasteries at the entrance of Tibet. So more about that. It's an intense trip coming soon. Alrighty guys, so here we are already deep into Tibet. Let me share with you how the last 24 hours passed. Let me break it down for you guys. After entering into, let's say, the region of Tibet, I actually heard often that there's like sometimes stringent controls, maybe even they check your bags. But I think maybe we got lucky, maybe it's a thing of the past because yeah, we just passed all this border area, got into, kept driving, just a little checkpoint where they wanted to see the passport, but didn't even have to get out of the car or anything. And now we're already in one of the towns on our way to Lhasa. So overall, it's actually a very famous thing in China, the 318 highway going from, I believe, Chengdu to Lhasa. And wow, it's a super scenic ride. Let me give you a couple of shots from how it looked today when we were driving. We are pushing deeper and deeper into Tibet, and this is the local life. Yeah.
Hello, hello.
Hello. You speak English? Good to meet you. Good to meet you. 谢谢.
Yeah, so a portion of your salary goes.
So just to give you an idea of one of the many stops of the road deeper into Tibet, probably the most impressive one. So there's this highway that keeps winding and swirling down the mountain. It's quite crazy to see. Super nice viewpoint, probably one of the most impressive sceneries right now. Just from the fact that they built this road, such a scenery. Wow, it's pretty cool. Look at these cute dogs. Aw. Yo. Yo. Usually not a fan of these things because they are not like edgy. This is don't look, just yeah. So continuing on the route 318, they're building some cool stuff around here. So here's the viewing platform made all out of glass, and when you look down, you're looking a couple of thousand meters, hundreds for sure, down. And honestly, I don't know if I'm just imagining it, but it feels a little bit wobbly. Wow, if you look down for a bit too long, it is quite edgy. Super nice mountain view. And actually, you film me, I film you.
Hey.
Hey.
Okay.
谢谢.
谢谢。
On the road to the forbidden city of Lhasa right now, and it's quite crazy. We're passing through and it's snowing. Really, depending on where you are, it can be anywhere from like 0 to 25. Here somebody brought their dogus. Wow, look at that guy. Nice. So as of right now, we are about 5 hours out from Lhasa, and in Lhasa it's supposed to be like, whoops. No, this is the exit. In Lhasa it's supposed to be like 25 degrees or something like that. And here, solid minus, snowing, slippery. But yeah, Lhasa is the biggest and the only really big city. And for a long time it was known as the Forbidden City. Quite excited for it, quite excited to warm up as well, but oh, look at that. Donguren. Is that how you say Germany? How do you say Germany? Degu? Degu. Right, he's not reacting. You're the photographer now. Enjoy. We sneaked out a little bit, and we are in the middle of Lhasa city, the biggest city in Tibet by far, like really the only one, population around 700,000-800,000 people. And just from driving all the way through Tibet, you can tell, like some, very old style living houses, but very few. Mostly it's fairly developed. So just from that factor, what I expected from the big city of Lhasa is to be actually in some ways even fairly modern in a way. And so far, just popped out of the hotel, I haven't seen much. Let me take you to one of the most famous squares, Barkhor Street, something like that. And let's see how is Lhasa in 2025. Just from kind of like a little bit of research that I have done into the levels of development, like, they have like Russian music playing. Interesting. So this is kind of a little bit, from what I understand, the old town, public market. Sun is slowly setting. And sometimes when you watch Tibet videos, I've watched maybe just a few, people say you have to get, it's called a special permit. I wouldn't say it's that special. Pretty much almost anybody can get it. And with that, you do have to go with an organized tour. Like you cannot just drive in by yourself on a motorbike or car, or even take a train. You do have to be part of a group. These days, domestic tourism is pretty high, and also pretty much all over Tibet. You can walk around everywhere by yourself. You can sneak in every corner and see what is going on. So this was something I wasn't certain about, if that is okay. In some, like, where there's big monasteries and monks living, there is signs, like, foreigners not permitted, or probably even like also domestic tourism in a sense, because you can imagine like little local Tibetan towns where the monks are praying. You don't want to turn it into a tourist street where everybody's going to be popping photos. But so far, Lhasa, one big main street, but here is definitely a little bit more old vibe, that I can say for sure. Oh, this one passed. And I would say for today's video from Lhasa, my goal is very much going to be to, of course, see the main things, like the palace, see a little bit the old school life, but also I think for me it's very curious how the city looks in a year, you know, end of 2025, pushing into 26. How's the development? How are people living? Is it still this very old school place? In many ways, you can tell just randomly walking around. Old men love their hats.
Hello.
Hello. So in many ways, tradition is definitely maintained, but in other ways also curious how, let's say, modernity and to what extent has reached Lhasa. So for right now, a little bit the old town. Let me take you through a little walk. Tibetan clothing. And tomorrow I think we're going to check out the temple for the cultural part of this experience, and then I would say let's go see the more modern side. That is, I think, the plan. But so far what I do quite like is some towns in China, they kind of like rebuild them. Maybe how it used to be, maybe how they like it now. But here you can tell it's fairly old streets we're walking on. Here we have some statues, clothing, food shop, Tibetan writing, Chinese next to it, pictures for people like me who don't speak nothing. Hello, you get a lollipop. Nice, kids like to say hi. In some ways, naturally, they're culturally not too far apart as well as geographically. It looks a little bit like Nepal, like Kathmandu, but way more organized, that's for sure. Some monks passing through, probably from the monastery, working 9 to 5, having the evening off. I actually would wonder what is their working schedule. Here the trade is actively happening. Kid has a gun, so they're ready. So that is basically how it feels to walk the streets of Old Town Lhasa. We'll take a little walk, and tomorrow morning, let's dive deep. Full day tomorrow. How is Lhasa right now? And just from talking to a few people, they said, you know, it's much more developed than you might think. Well, you can think about it whatever you want, but mostly it is like really old school, especially in the side streets. But just walking down like 5 minutes from where we just have been, there's pretty much some type of, some type of big mall. Some people on the stairs, and honestly, it is definitely not how you imagine when you think of Tibet. Still like very much, I would say, a fusion of old, but very much also new. Seriously, it is a different world in many ways though, I'm not gonna lie. Some kids who still know how to entertain themselves, playing with the slide. Good morning, guys, from the heavenly Tibet, host office. Right now headed to the Lhasa Palace, and now that I rolled up here I realized you need to have your passport on you to get in. So we'll have to quickly go back. And yeah, huge place. Kind of like the most legendary place. The heart of the Tibetan civilization for like 1,000 years, basically, even more. In the back right there. I get my passport, now we're gonna get in. So picked up the passport, got inside, and another one of those places where you can only go with a guide. We got one. And let's see what is inside of the palace. See, even a bunch of Chinese are having the oxygens, because especially if you fly into Lhasa, it's gonna hit you hard. So there's always men walking around changing money.
Does smell like milk.
So, is it painted with milk?
I don't know. Let me ask them.
Yak milk, the legend says. Guys, it's a big tradition to lick the walls.
People say milk. This is just a limestone. You can get it from natural. They used to mix some, milk, some, sugar just to stick it better. Stick it better. But people are so sarcastic that they are, so damaged.
So licking the walls is not that delicious?
Because, right now, this is the typical way of doing, just putting like these.
That people volunteer, they wait in line to paint the walls. Everybody brings their own paint for good karma.
The living place of the Dalai Lama. But anyhow, this was not built on a red hill. This is kind of like a hill. Tibet was, in the beginning, it was ruled by the kings, which are known as king spirit. Later, decentralized, later ruled by the Dalai Lama. So we have the king spirit, decentralized spirit, and then the tomb of the Dalai Lama.
So guys, right now we're wandering up the Potala Palace. Our guide just told us a lot of pretty cool, pretty interesting stories. So basically, this palace here was starting to get built in the 7th century. So like a good 1,300 plus years ago started to be built. Pretty much the way it stands now, it was completed a bit over 500 years ago. And this is pretty much, it was a kingdom era. Then there was kind of like an era where there was like different small independent Tibetan tribes. And one of the Dalai Lamas connected the whole Tibetan, let's say, region. And yeah, they had like 14 of these Dalai Lamas, and they were all basically living here. The spiritual leaders, the way they're chosen is actually quite interesting. There's like different procedures. You go to the lake, you ask it questions, you do like different kind of procedures, and usually like the last one was chosen when he was just like a baby. We're walking in the footsteps of the 14 Dalai Lamas. If you think about it, this used to be truly one of the most remote parts of the world, known as the roof of the world, because pretty much no other place on earth where that many people have lived and still live, that is in such a high altitude. And speaking of that, as you can maybe hear, it is pretty hard to hike. I'm already like a good 8 days into this high altitude, so slowly starting to get used to it. But especially people that flew into Lhasa, you see them with the little oxygen gallons. There it is, a big tourist attraction. A bit over 100 years ago, it was pretty much one of the least visited, one of the least known places, and still in terms of foreign visitors is not that high, but somehow the domestic tourism completely exploded. So the legendary typical Tibetan toilets. Everybody here to take a quick picture of the, oh wow, they even glassed it up. So this is where the royals of the Tibetans were doing the big business and the small business. So these days, I guess we film the toilets. For you, invention of the modern world, and pretty much all over Tibet, you have this, the squatting machine, I would call it. One step forward, one small step forward, a big step in civilization. Tibetan Mandarin. So guys, we're entering the main temple. No pictures. See you later. Okay guys, coming down from the palace, Potala Palace, and I gotta tell you, it's really cool to be able to walk along the hallways where, for hundreds of years the Tibetan Dalai Lamas were walking around. But honestly, it also makes me think a little bit. Like I've expected it to be a little bit more humbler. Like you cannot film inside. Like everything is full of gold. Everything is just like a proper emperor's palace. So they were living comfortably up there back in the day, that's for sure. Also learned a little bit about the traditions, the burying traditions, which they still do to this day. Basically, there's like 3 different ways to bury people. One is you cut people open and the birds just eat you. The other one is you get chopped up and then you go into the river and the fish eat you. And the third one is cremation. And I was actually surprised to hear that to this day that is the most common practice. And to be fair, all over the world, there's different practices that, if you haven't heard of them, even like the open coffin is not that common in many places. And yeah, so this is what they're doing pretty much all day long, painting the walls with some kind of white paint that got on my pants actually, but it's easy to get it off, so I guess it sticks on the walls. And this right here is probably the most Chinese thing you can find. You walk up in any public park, anywhere, all over China, especially in the mornings, and people go with traditional dance. Okay guys, I have joined the Tibetan mafia already. Can you film us? Can you film us? Okay,
Thank
cheers.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You look fresh. I rolled into, let's say, a fairly local place. Like you walk a little bit further from the palace away, and for right now the goal is going to be get a little bit of local food here. I love it. A lot of dumplings here, pretty much for the last 2 or 3 days, eating it all the time, and it tastes different everywhere. As you see, the locals going for the dumplings as well. And gonna be having some soup, and then next stop, try to find a cafe with a nice view. I feel like it's always nice in every city you visit, just get a view a bit, and then I would say we're gonna do the real culture. We're gonna see how the city looks right now. Yesterday in the evening saw a little bit, but today super sunny day, so we're just gonna wander around and see what's happening in town. Let's take a master class on dumplings. So we get the chopsticks, put it in the chili. Oh yeah. Good program here. Getting some little appetizers. What is that? Pickled kale? Something? Oop. Let's try. You know, one of those places where there's a lot of people, a lot of stuff is cooking, and it smells good when you walk in.
What we are going to do in the afternoon, they almost know already. And in the afternoon we have the bazaar. And also
that, guys. So just stopped by one of the many, probably, kind of like rooftop bars, tea cafes. Super nice view, very bright outside, but for the first time you get to see, kind of like you need to get up on a little bit of a platform to be able to see the palace. What a spot. Very good, very good. Let's continue the video and figure out how life is looking really in Lhasa. A couple of hours later, so the palace, I mean, you know, the most epic place in the city. Went to this cafe, and now I'm just out and about in random side streets. Kids playing badminton. Here it's kind of like, I would say like, I don't know, maybe middle class living. You see houses are built fairly newly, big bricks. Here the badminton champions. And so for tonight, I would say the goal is going to be on one side to get a really good view of the city, but even more so just see what's going to happen. What's going to happen walking around all over Lhasa. Let's go, join me. Definitely, you don't catch any looks being in a city center, being in the touristy areas. Going into a little side street, it's a bit different. So Lhasa in many ways, you know, when I thought of coming to Tibet, I was like, hey, it's probably like not many people traveling, it's hard to come. But what I didn't expect is that locals from all over China, the infrastructure is extremely well developed. Walk around at night as I did yesterday, like feels like one of the safest places you can really be. A couple of monks kids running around even like after 8-9 p.m. And so from that perspective, I think life really changed here a lot in the last 50, 60, 70 years. Much more kind of like street vendors, even like people asking for money, that is true. And I was told that kind of like a lot of people do make donations, so it's actually a big business because it gives you good karma. So nowhere else in China you really encounter that, but it's not even like too intrusive. And I should see the palace any moment. You know, those places, when you're inside of them like this morning, it's one thing, it's cool. Cozy little rooms, absolutely epic. Just think of the history of it. But coming around here and seeing it from a little distance, it's quite a wow. What you do notice is you do have these guards over there, standing up very straight in glorious uniform in front of this palace here. I'm hiking up some kind of mountain, or am I not? No? Okay. I was trying to find a viewpoint, walked into someone's house, but here, judging by the crowd, oh yeah, busy cameras, but quite a nice view. And on the 1 yuan bill, and on most bills actually, there is the Potala Palace, no, the 50 yuan. There it is. And the legendary selfie man. Yep, that's better. Whew, this guy's sending his social credit down the drain. So as you see, sun is set all the way. Actually came back to the same spot I showed you earlier, and from here you get almost a panoramic view. I think there's a couple of these cafes. To be very honest with you, if you don't pay, they don't let you up here, but for like 10-20 bucks you can get a dinner. And yeah, once everything lights up, actually the light on the palace itself is not, it's not like super lit, but you see it probably all night, or at least for the first part. And actually in the very back there, you see a bit more of a modern part of Lhasa, kind of like a bit of a light show, very typical in many Chinese cities. And so I think after a full day of being here, you really start to tell that it is a fairly large city. It might be one of the largest cities inside of a mountain with that high of an elevation. Truly, as they say, the roof of the world, but in many ways it's fairly modern. For a mountain town, it might be one of the most modern one in the world. And yeah, this is going to be Lhasa. Actually, when I'm going to be flying out, I'm going to come back here again. But tomorrow morning, the road to Everest begins. Whew. Good morning. We're heading into the direction of Mount Everest. Nice and sunny morning, driving out, and I have no idea why we're doing a stop. And I still haven't fully understood it. It's nice scenery, mountains, and they're having the Tibetan dog here. Just some men out here with their gigantic dogs. Slightly from the difference, you cannot even quite exactly tell that they're that large, but when you come close or you get a human next to it, you start to be able to tell. The Tibetan giant dog. And so that is how the road to Everest look. You just drive along the road. Right now standing at over 5,000 meters elevation. Mountains as long as the eye can see. We are truly at the roof of the world, yeah. And look guys, the thing is, the highways are highly impressive. You know, like no matter what you think about China, the fact of how they build up pretty much the whole country. I remember last year for the first time I visited China. I visited Shanghai, Then I visited Shenzhen, kind of like, you know, the rich innovation capitals. And people are like, hey, go to the villages, go more remote. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. In most countries it is like that. And then I went to like around 10 cities in the last like 3-4 visits. Now I'm in one of the most truly remote and hardly to develop parts of the world. And what you see is flawless highways. You have data connection up here. And no matter what you think, no matter what I think, you have to just say that is impressive from that perspective. And from a timeless Mother Nature perspective, it makes you feel quite small to be up here. Some guy is doing some singing down there with his car. Here you have the Tibetan kind of flags, and from what I've heard is actually part of a tradition that was even here before Tibetan Buddhism. The colors, they kind of symbolize the sky, the sun, the earth, the wind, something like that. The colors, and that has existed for a very long time, this kind of symbolism. And then they have added the scripture, the Tibetan Buddhist scripture on top of that. And yeah, I'm pretty much on top of most or few many mountains. You see this. So it's going to be 1.5 hour ride. To Everest, I think it's still another 6-7 hours. But we're going to be stopping over in some town that I think I'm going to show you in this video as well. But just this lake is like over 100 kilometers long or something like that. Wow. And as you can imagine, it's cold. Seriously, just being up here right now, I am actually listening first to a bit of a podcast, then to a bit of music. Just because there's some guy doing karaoke, you feel the wind still, and yeah, truly a very special place, a very special visual. Here, I have to tell you, it's probably one of those places where you realize China lives for the picture. Beautiful nature, one of the most beautiful lakes I've ever seen in my life. But the stop we do is at this like touristy spot. Everywhere else, not a single person next to the water. You can still walk to the side. I still think it's super enjoyable, but it's a big get the photo culture. Photo spot number 1, photo spot number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. Get these animals out here. Not a fan, but people's enthusiasm is actually quite nice though. So basically the rest of the drive is gonna be right by the lake over here. Yeah, I'm almost got hit. And seriously, what a shade of blue it is. And for lunch, obviously there's like restaurants and stuff like that, and then we're seeing, here's a local village, and there it's written that it's kind of like a local cooking restaurant. So let's walk in and see. I was just told basically it's kind of like just a Tibetan family cooking inside of their house and open for people to come in. So this is how their house looks. This is actually cow poop, which is used for heating as well as cooking. And the surprising thing is, in the previous video I showed you a little bit like how Tibetans live more remotely still. It doesn't smell. That is surprising. It's quite surprising. And it burns quite well actually. So let's walk up, let's check it out. It was saying it's kind of like a local restaurant, and basically you're running into somebody's house. We're walking through the kitchen. This is where the cooking magic is happening. And I guess this is it. Pretty cool concept. People basically just living here, and now they turned it into like a local restaurant, I guess. Cooking right in front of you, potato looking good. And this is probably the first time I'm seeing like Western tourist group in Tibet. I haven't seen those people for like 10 days. Hard to say. European somewhere. Hard to say. Maybe mixed. Is it your baby? Not theirs? You think it's okay if I film the baby?
Sure, sure,
Yeah? Whose baby is it? Whose baby is it?
She's over there.
Okay. I am not the father. I am not. No. So I guess basically, yeah, buffet set up. Actually, super cute family here. The next Dalai Lama.
Boy.
Huh?
Son.
Sorry?
She's son.
Who's cooking?
Here, mom.
Mom is cooking?
Mom is here. Mom.
Aha, I see. Makes sense. Okay. So here's the mom preparing the tofu. Maybe dad, maybe uncle. Either way. Oh, that's how they make the peanuts so delicious. Look at that. They are frying the living everything out of them. I'm like, why are they so crunchy and salty? Yeah, lots of oil in Chinese cooking. Not everything. And like some things I love, some things I really don't like, but overall, there's lots of variety. Guys, and one thing I want to honestly share with you, going on some of these adventures, what a lot of people don't talk about is the risk that is really there. You want to touch all the wild animals, maybe you want to go to Everest Base Camp. You're just out there somewhere in nowhere. And the reality is, things can happen. And to keep a peace of mind that if something with your health comes up, if it's just a short trip, the most flexible emergency medical insurance that is out there, Safety Wing Essential. And if you're living around the world, check out Nomad Complete. I think really a couple of years ago, there were very few to almost no solutions if you have already left your home country. First link down in the description. Also, I might leave like a little barcode for you to scan. And guys, it is quite a bit of a cut into today's video. We are in another one of the most famous monasteries in Tibet, in the town of Shigatse, where we have been driving to. It is right now a bit like, I would say, a good 3 days later, because what we did is we went to Everest Base Camp, and it was quite an experience. So I decided to make a full video out of it. I'm a bit tired right now, a little bit exhausted, but seriously, keep your eyes open for the Everest video. It is very different than you think. Good morning from Everest Base Camp, or Winter Wonderland. But the next video will come in a few days, and I would say it's definitely one of the most entertaining ones. So overall, they're practicing their faith, probably one of the most dedicated places I've ever been to. Even if I go to some countries, like you can check on my channel, I've been in some countries where truly just 1,000 people a year visit, where one religion is very busy, but you don't see active practice as much as you do here. Whereas on the other hand, you also see modern life. You see some cities that have been completely newly built, where people go to malls, people go to restaurants, people enjoy the, you know, the individualistic lifestyle. And then at the same time, you do get to see life. In some places it feels a little bit over touristy, especially domestic tourism. But then again, if you go a little bit further away, like here right now, the town of Shigatse, or another small town we visited closer to Everest, you get to see life truly how it has been probably 1,000 years ago, for the most part, with the exception that they might have a phone. I always see a monk scrolling something. I'm like, what is he watching? Hopefully my video. And so this has been Tibet, and I'll see you very soon.